Okay, go.
Hi, welcome to Chapter 2 of Generation 6 Ford Mustang, Shoebox, however you want to put it in that order. As my brother said, my Franken car. Anyhow, today we're going to discuss measuring the car and how to make sure it fits, or hopefully it's going to fit. Two things that we have to take into consideration is the strength of this car. This car was a coupe, and what we ended up doing is cutting the roof off. So I had to put these bars in to hold it so it didn't lose its geometrics or its body lines. When I went online, I realized the only thing different between a Mustang coupe and a Mustang convertible in the floor pan is these rocker panels are thicker, the inner reinforcements on the convertible, than they are on the coupe. So what I did is I made a new skin to go over the existing frame rail, rocker panel, inner, whatever you want to call it, and slipped it over it. And you can see how I plug welded it on. Now for me to get this dimension correct, what I did was I took and made a cardboard template of the outer of the rocker, of the old one, and then I made a template of the inner of this outer dimension, like that. And then I brought it to my welding company, which was Paul's Welding in Newington, Connecticut, and we fabricated this panel to fit over this. And once we knew that that would fit all the way down, we knew it was going to fit on the car. Brought it back, plug welded it on, and now the car is actually stronger than a convertible because it's got, this is a 14 gauge panel on top of the existing factory panel which the coupe had. Now this is important because this is going to be our datum line that we're going to build the whole car off of. This point and the top of this rail, this A-pillar, are the two factors that this whole car is going to be built around. And you say, why? Well, I have to get my cowl panel down as far as I can on top of my dashboard so that I know the roof will fit, everything will fit down, and I won't have a big gap under here. So let's go and figure out how I'll show you how I figured out how to cut this. Now if you walk around in front here and see, I took this cardboard fabrication of a template that I made, and I made it form the cowl exactly the way it would fit, so that I know how tall this is, and I know how tall this is, and I know how it flares out in front. So after making this panel, I was able to take it and transfer it to here. And while I made it, I not only made the front, but I made these little templates to wrap around the posts, so I knew where it would line up in the back, and I knew where it would line up in the front. So basically, when I get all my lines lined up, this is where my post is on the 51 Ford, and you can see it'll fit right over the top of the post on the Mustang. Of course, I had to modify this post a little bit, bend it in and shape it so that they would go together. Alright, so now I know, I can see how much room I have between the bottom of my windshield frame and the top of the dash. Now I have to do a little modification here. I can raise this a little bit or lower it, but I want to get it as low as I can so I don't have a big gap under here. Right here is where the defroster vents are going to come up from the 51 Ford, and we're going to use those to blow onto the windshield. So this will get closed up quite a bit. But basically, that gives you an idea of the height. So now I know what my height is. So once I've established my height, I measure down to the top of this rocker panel. And this is how tall the post is going to be. So let's go back to the coupe. And if you see on the coupe, when I measured down from this top down to my rocker panel, I got like 28 inches. When I measure over there, I'm getting 24 inches, which means I'm going to have to section the car 4 inches. So this gave me an idea of how much lower it's going to be. So I kind of drew out where my sectioning lines. I drew this to be 3 3/4 inches, not sure. Give me some chance when I set it down to make some changes. If I have to go a little less, I can. But now I know that this part of the post is going to be 24 inches above this rocker. Alright, so what else do we need to know? Well, if we're going to weld the front posts on here, how high do I make this? That's critical. So what I ended up doing is I ended up measuring from the rocker panel from here to here, which is 44 1/2, and from here to here, which is 44 1/2. So now when I turn around and set this down on that car, I have to make sure that this dimension and this dimension are the same from that rocker panel. That will give me to make sure that my car is not being too low in the back or too high in the back. Alright, what else do we need to know? Well, that car is 7.7 inches shorter wheelbase than this car. So what I did is I took and made a little a little compass, and I drew a line where the wheelbase would be from that post back to the center of the wheel. By setting this here, I was able to scribe a line to figure out where my wheel opening is going to be. Now this part here is going to be welded to that wheelhouse. You stay right there and I'll show you. It's going to get welded right inside here because this car is 2.5 inches wider on each side. It'll get welded to the inner wheelhouse, and I'll have to make a flare to map the outer wheelhouse edge. Okay, so that took care of how far to cut this back. But we know that we're lowering the car, so this line is not going to matter. So I had to come up 4 inches and draw another line, because this is what's going to come down. These are going to come back down to here. So really what I have to do is I have to cut this line back to here. Alright, so that took care of where the car is going to be, and it's going to be sectioned right here. Now, because I moved the wheel ahead 7.7 inches of the wheel opening, I'm going to have too much overhang on the back. So what I did is I measured the overhang on that car from the center of the wheel to the back of the floor, and I measured from here, the back of the floor, to the center of the wheel, and found out that's about 7 and 8, almost 8 inches difference. So I have to shorten the back of the car 8 inches so that the floors will line up on the rear. So this is what I have to cut out to shorten the back of the car. Well, I also have to cut out the back shelf here. This will get shortened 8 inches. So I did a rough dimension, and I'm going to make this cut. Well, because I'm shortening the car and the width of the car here is narrower than the width of the car here, I have to widen the fenders a little bit, the quarter panels. So this cut is going to have to come all the way back to here, just so I can widen it that little bit so they'll line up. So my first cut is going to be to cut the roof off from here, up around the wheelhouse, up from here and around. And this whole section should fit on the Mustang. And I'll have to do a few little modifications. But after I'm happy with all the dimensions on it, then I'll know exactly how much to section the car from here to here. Whatever that distance closes up on is the amount of section. It could be 3 3/4, it could be 4 1/4. But that'll tell me that the door is going to fit in this opening, and I just take whatever that section is out of the door. That's the first cut that's going to be made. Then the next cut would be to cut this lower piece out And that'll get set on the rocker panel. It'll be grafted onto that. And then whatever the distance is here, then I can take this last piece and put it in there. And then I'll know exactly how much to section the car. The next cut will be cutting the back of the car off, sliding it up, lining it up with the floor. And my last piece will be taking these lower quarters, cutting them here, sliding them up to here, leaving this down. The pans should line up about there roughly. And this will be my roll pan, and my bumper will be mounted up here. Well, that's the plan. So, just to sort of keep the interest going in things, I kind of just hung a fender on this. You can take a look on this side here. You can see, start to get an idea of what the car is going to look like. Of course, I have to flare out the tire up front. Along with the other things that I'm doing, taking into consideration, is making the cowl panel the right height so that I can fit the wipers in. What I'm going to do is take off this motor, which is vacuum, and I'm going to use this arm to attach the wipers of the 51, make a pivot here and run a cable from this arm to my electric wipers so that I'll be able to run it through this panel, because this is all open now, so I have to make a panel that's going to close up in here. And it'll have a hole through it with the cable going through so that my electric wipers will be able to run the wipers on my, which were vacuum. Anyhow, that's the plan. Chapter 2 should be coming up.
Take that wiper motor and bring it back to the Ford.
Just to show you where the wiper motor went on the Ford. It was up under there. And because I'm cutting this panel here this far off, this will actually go up into that area. Without this, and my cable will be coming through here. This panel that I'm making to close out should be coming in through here to run the wipers. Just one of the things you have to take into consideration when you build your next Franken car. See you at Chapter 3. Thank you.